Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at ship-based point defense weapons. Now this is basically going to be covering all the different technologies and techniques that a typical ship would have to defend itself against anti-ship missiles. Now anti-ship missiles are kind of the preeminent threat of ships these days, although if you go back and take a look at history, usually the mine and the torpedo is going to be more effective at actually getting a kill. These weapons are still very, very dangerous and they're very widely deployed. So what I've done today is I've set up a pretty simple scenario. I've got my little kind of island here. This is Easter Island off the coast of Chile. And I have all these different ships that I've actually purposely modified to pull things off of them so that you can only see how effective the individual point defense systems are on their own. Obviously, the more point defense, the better, so to speak. Helping us out today, I've got an E-2D Hawkeye, which is going to be kind of spotting targets early so that we can see them behind the horizon. And our victim ship is always going to be placed down here. In this case, we're going to be opening up with our Farragut. We're going to be launching a couple different types of weapons at our poor ships here. The first being this one, the P-15, one of the early anti-ship missiles. Not quite as silly as the AS-1, which was basically a MiG-15 with a radar on the nose. This was actually a pretty early anti-ship missile. It does have some success, and it's also had some pretty embarrassing failures, but unfortunately, they're very common still. So this is actually a pretty solid weapon to be shooting at us. So what I'm going to be doing is launching a total of 8 of those at my poor victim, and I'll be making some comments. So let's talk about point defense. In the really early days of point defense, of course, you had combination things like 50 caliber machine guns, 40 millimeter cannons, and of course these dual purpose 5" / 127 millimeter cannons, usually armed with variable fuse. These things could be guided using weapons mount, either visually, they could be guided radar, completely depending on the particular application. Advantage to these systems is you can use them against surface targets and air targets. The disadvantage, as you'll probably notice in a minute, is they're embarrassingly bad at reliably hitting a specific target traveling at high speed towards it. So let's go ahead and let our Farragut go ahead and step up, please. Already, we've noticed that there's a particular missile. Notice whenever you're getting missiles launched at you, you're going to detect them based on their cruising altitude. In this particular case, because these missiles are traveling at an altitude of about 800 feet, we have a pretty early warning of when we need to start engaging. Go ahead, slow down time here. These ships are all radar guided. I should say anti-ship missiles are all radar guided, so they're going to be starting zeroing in here. Our poor Farragut here is realize he's under attack. He's going to go ahead and flip on his offensive countermeasures as well as his radar. And you'll notice the range of his 5" gun is almost not negligible, but pretty darn small. So until these missiles get within that range, he can't even begin to fire them, which means your ability to reattack is going to be severely limited by the rate of fire of that particular mount. In this case, I think that one's going to get through pretty darn clean. We'll go ahead and put a couple of rounds into it just in case. Oh, I don't think he's got to get a lock on it. Oh, that was lucky. Go ahead and take some of that as well. This scenario, of course, we're not going to be taking a look. Oh, there's one. Ooh, that's not going to do much. You got to do it again. Oh, he's trying again. Uh-oh. Quicker, quicker, quicker. Oh, he's done. So we can see that this really old school anti-ship missile can easily tear any ship that just has those dual purpose guns apart. Again, there would have been no competition here. If there was less warning, there would have been even less competition. Now, just in case you're curious if this was a loaded activity, I'm actually going to look at the end game real quick, and you're going to notice that we fired the 3 rounds, and our overall probability to hit was 1% each time, which means those weapons are simply last ditch, or just use them for short bombardment. All right, let's go ahead and reset the scenario and take a look at how point defense improved. So after we realized that, okay, these guns aren't really going to be able to hit high-speed missiles, we had to develop other techniques in order to go ahead and to protect ourselves. So afterwards, we started developing simple things like a Sea-Whiz. What a Sea-Whiz is basically a very high rate of fire machine gun that tries to shoot at the missile as it arrives, trying to engage and shoot it down. These weapons are absolute last-ditch weapons and usually have limited arcs in which to be used. So I'm going to go ahead and order our ship to go like that. I'll order it up to cruise speed. I'll go ahead and unpause here. One thing I'm just going to confirm real quick is I want to make sure these are set to engage any targets. Good. So this particular ship, this is the PPK Kara. This is a Bekrut B. I think that's a Golden Eagle or something along those, if I recall correctly. I've ripped all the missiles off, just leaving these AK-630s, which are 30 millimeter weapons that literally each time they fire, they're actually firing 400 rounds at the incoming missile. So I expect this system to be a little bit better. We already noticed that those P-15s that have been launched a moment earlier are already starting starting to be spotted. Again, that's thanks to this AWACS. It's very difficult, by the way, for AWACS to see missiles that are traveling very low to the water because it'll get lost in the clutter of the sea, especially if this clutter of the sea is very, very strong that day in situations such as really, really bad weather. So what this ship's going to do to defend itself is it's actually going to beam the incoming missiles to make it so that both sets of CIWS, which are usually one in the nose and one in the back, can engage the incoming weapons. All right, let's see how we do. Go ahead and reduce time a little bit. First one's coming in. We got a miss. Again, there's 400 rounds of ammunition. It's going to try. Oh, he took the first hit. He's still working. Still working. Go ahead and order him to manually attack in case. Oh, there's the next shot. Got it. All right. You got to do that 6 more times. Of course, our ship is now at 99.1% damage, and it is on fire, and it is flooding. Keep in mind, this is a gigantic cruiser. Nice. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. We'll go ahead and take a shot at the next one. He's on fire, and he's sinking, but he's defending himself. Oh, look at this. This system's working great. By the way, these are pretty good systems. And in several ships, actually, we have 3 or 4 of these. Uh-oh. Oh, no! Game. Let's see just how efficient that particular CIWS was. Let's see here. By the way, CIWS is a dynamite weapon against helicopters. Let's see here. So we penetrated. We're trying to attack. As weapon damage, I'm interested in weapon endgame. There we go. Let's see here. We fired an awful lot of bullets. You're talking thousands of bullets trying to engage those targets. And you can see our overall probability of hit was actually not bad, about 45%. So if we had more time, we probably could have gotten those again. The CIWS is a good system against kind of a leaker. So that's not going to work much for us either, because unfortunately, not only are those going to be last ditch, they simply could not keep up with a lot of missiles at a time, which is why you started getting short-range anti-missile missiles, such as the Sea Sparrow. So I'm going to grab my Farragut again. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to go ahead and grab myself my short range. These are Sea Sparrows. Now, a Sea Sparrow is kind of a unique weapon if you've actually seen the mount for it. It kind of looks like somebody took a 50 caliber machine gun and put 2 big white domes on either side of it. What the crew member would actually do is, again, this is the same Sparrow that you saw on F4 Phantoms, in case you're curious. But what the crew member could actually do is he could actually point the mount at the incoming target, and then since that target, of course, would have the strongest radar signal, the missile would automatically home in on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens here. So we immediately launch 2. Now notice, if we miss, which we probably will at some point, we might get lucky. If we miss, we still have time to re-attack, in which case we've launched 2 more. But notice we don't have the capability to engage more than one of those at a time because of the limitation of the semi-active radar homing. Uh-oh. Clunk. Ah. There's another one. So that system, even though it came out in the early 70s, was actually a pretty good improvement. As again, you saw we were able to shoot down several of those without that much effort. So where do we go from there? Well, we said, well, that's a good backup, especially when you couple it with CIWS. We can actually start to succeed at defending ourselves. So what does the modern version of that look like? Well, let's take a look real quick. There's this weapon called the ESSM that is basically the Evolved Sparrow missile. And what this system is basically 4 of these teeny tiny little missiles packed into these vertical launch systems. Some of these ships can pack up to 256 of these per vertical launch system. So this is going to be basically a waste of this unit's time. Watch how efficiently they will engage. And thank you for playing. So again, that was against a 1960s system. And finally, we're starting to get somewhere. What happens if we tried to pack that up against a more modern missile? Well, let's try that out. I happen to have an AN-225 down here, loaded up with KH-22s, which are an incredible missile system. Very high speed. They basically drop from space at stupid, stupid high Machs and can do a tremendous amount of damage. So I'm going to go try it against these missiles. All right, thank you for your support there, AN-225. Let's go ahead and flip back to these guys. Already, we've identified those missiles. The missiles are coming in. They're coming in. Again, our engagement range is going to be this red line. All right, watch this. Fire! Notice if a missile misses or blows up a target, it will automatically retarget the next missile. Effortlessly cuts through that many missiles without too much effort. So obviously, those modern short-range missiles coupled with the CIWS are pretty dynamite. But can you do better than that? Yeah, believe it or not, you can do even better than that. And that's part of what we're going to take a look at next. So let's go remove that Farragut for a second. What they also realized is you could start using long-range SAMs for the same purpose. But keep in mind, a sea-skimming missile is so low to the water that it probably would have the ability to not be noticed until it's about 20 miles away, reducing the effectiveness of extremely long-range SAMs. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flip his radar on real quick because this system works pretty darn good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my KH-22 carrier here. He's going to help me out real fast because obviously those P-15s aren't even going to get the same time of day as that one. Yeah, he's already jammed and we haven't even identified it. There he is. Oh, nope, we didn't even identify the ship yet. Oh, look at that. Well, we can always do a bearing launch, I guess. Launch! Thank you for your help. Yeah, not even worth his time of day. He literally cut those missiles as if they weren't even in the sky to begin with. Now, check this out. The maximum range of this is so far that even though those missiles are all the way out there, we can actually begin engaging them immediately. And thank you for playing. Obviously, it's a little inefficient to be launching, $10 million missiles at $100,000 anti-ship missiles. So there has to be a balance there. We'll take a look at some of the solutions to that in a minute. So far, you can see by combining the Sea Whiz with the 5-inch guns, with the short-range missiles, with the long-range missiles, works really, really well. Is there a better system? Lasers. Let's go ahead and try this with a laser. So I'm going to borrow myself my little laser test platform here. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to order him to kind of do one of those things like that. And I'm just going to kind of let him loose and do his own little thing there while I go get those KH-22s ready to go. Let's go ahead and move him a little bit closer. There he is. We're going to launch my entire hold worth of those. Pretty confident an AN-225 could probably do this, but you never know. But anyway, we're testing it out. So lasers are amazing because if you can see it, you can hit it. That's how you defeat a laser. You have to prevent your missiles from being detected in the first place. By the way, in case you haven't detected this or noticed this, one of the best ways to defeat things... Oh, look at him go! Sorry, I'm talking too much. One of the best ways to defeat a platform this lethal is to make sure it never notices that missiles were launched at it in the first place. So all your strategy is about counter... Didn't even waste its... Oh, man, it didn't even crack any... Oh, that was too easy. By the way, it has 10,000 laser shots at its disposal. So in a moment, they're about to be engaged by these much higher speed missiles. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to flip over to 3D view. I'm going to be naughty here. Go select one of these things, just so you can get an idea of just how amazing these weapons are. There we go. So remember, we're getting late updates to this position. It's moving Mach 4.2, and look at how high off the ground it is. You're talking 75,000 feet here. So basically what it's going to do is fly to this position, detect the target, and then dive at it, going even faster, making this a lethal weapon. Oh no, this is looking bad. I don't think he'll be able to defend himself. Who are you kidding? This is a laser. Fire! And thank you for wasting the laser crew's time. Ta-da! These lasers, by the way, if you want to have a little more fun with them, look up HELLADS. It's actually a really, really solid ground-based version. So now you're probably sitting there going, all right, so you've made your point. Obviously, these are effective systems. They do a really, really good job. They can slaughter missiles much better than they used to be able to. More modern systems are better than old systems. Just how far can you go? Well, we'll take a look at that real fast. So let me go ahead and reset my mission one more time here. I'll go ahead and load up this mission real fast. We'll go ahead and switch back to me, PD4. In the middle of the ocean here, I have the CG-52 Bunker Hill. All items in this game that have a missile defense will have a missile defense rating. If you actually go to the database page for that particular unit and you scroll down, you'll see a thing that says missile defense. This tells you how many missiles it will take in order to score a hit with usual probability. In this case, it will take 96 harpoons in order to hit this ship because it has a tremendously good anti-missile platform on it. So we're going to put that to the test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to me real fast. Let's go ahead and grab this one. I happen to have a Tu-95RT equipped with 152 AGM-82Ds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn my radar on here. And we're going to try to acquire that target. Beautiful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to order it to fire. Let's do 100. Boop. 100 AGM-84Ds. So to make this even tougher, I'm actually going to order him to go down to low altitude to make it a little bit more difficult here. Oh boy. So what is your current bet? We just went out of radar range. Too low. What altitude are we at right now? 12,000. That's fine. We'll be able to reacquire him in a second. I'm pretty confident. Position myself like this. So place your bets. Do you think that those harpoons will be able to get through? So we'll find out in just a second. By the way, I've set it so that he can't see him right away. Otherwise, he would have slapped him out of the sky with an SM-3 already. All right, there they go. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? All right, let's switch back to the other team real quickly. He's just sitting there. Oh, I detected an enemy target. I better turn my radar on. Oh, look at that. It looks like incoming weapons. Notice it took a single second between the time he acquired the target and he started firing his missiles. It's just a couple. Don't worry. Don't worry. Oh, there's more than a couple. Okay, fire. We've lost sight of them. Where did they go? Well, they've gone up. There they are. Begin. All right. Let's see how we did. Let's go ahead and first of all, the ship took no damage, which makes me feel better. Second of all, they deployed 50. Oh, they only got 50. Oh, that's disappointing. Why did they only get 50, you're probably asking? Well, it turns out that my Tu-95 got shot down before we could actually test the theory. I've actually done this demonstration a few different times in a few different ways, kind of experimenting with it to make sure it works. And this ship would literally protect itself against 100 AGM-96s. Now, here's what makes this ship even more effective. If you actually position the ships around and fired all at him from all different angles, it wouldn't make a single difference. His missile defense system faces all directions at all times, making this an amazing platform for the purposes of air-to-air. All right, hopefully this makes a little bit more sense. Some of you are probably going, okay, thanks for the demo. Now, how do we defeat this? One of the best techniques to defeat it is don't let them notice you fired the missile. The second technique is to jam their fire control directors. The bad news is, and this is the really, really, really bad news, is that ships have very powerful radars that make it very difficult to jam them effectively. But if you can jam the missile guidance systems with a strong enough jammer, you can prevent the systems that engage the incoming missiles to ever even hit them or not be able to reliably hit them. And that is where your technique and tactics are actually going to go. We can actually take a look at this real quick. I'll show you what it looks like. Believe it or not, my KH-22 carrier up here, this not fair airplane, the IN, I've actually equipped with some offensive ECM. So I've got all sorts of fun little technology on here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and order him to low altitude. And I'm also going to go ahead and tell him to go cruise. And I'm going to go ahead and tell him to turn everything on. Move him over here, flip it over here, go ahead and unpause real quick. What I really needed to do is put a radar on this one real fast while I'm doing this. Again, just for a quick little demonstration. We'll use a wet eye because that's pretty classic. We'll use the 95 model. Boop. Radar on. There we go. Oh, something's jamming me. I think I know who that is. There we go. All right, move him a little bit closer to the action. Yeah, we'll bring him to 12,000 feet. Okay. So remember that pesky ship we had that had the laser? Let's go ahead and grab this one. Let's grab Mr. Laser. Let's put him right here. Keep in mind, we have spotted this aircraft already, so that's going to take some of the fun out of this. So I'm actually going to shut the Hawkeye's radar off. I'm going to drop this contact. He's nice and isolated and on his own. I'll go ahead and make him do one of these things at his cruise speed. So he's completely on his own. Making things extra tricky, I'm actually going to change the time of day real quickly. Boop. That will make it literally, that's 5 o'clock. That's actually not that late. I should have done my daylight savings calculation quickly. So we need something closer to 0600. Should do it. 0600, please. There we go. 11 o'clock at night. Okay, watch this. Now let's get my anti-little missile troop here real quickly. Go ahead and drop your entire load of KH-22s. And as an added pain, we're going to make sure his jammer is turned on so that he follows the missiles as low as possible, trying to create a strong jamming field behind him. I'm actually going to order him all the way down to minimum altitude here. All right, KH-22s are on the way. Keep in mind, KH-22s usually travel at very, very high altitude, so this technique is not going to be nearly as effective as it could be if we were at a slightly different altitude. So actually, I'll split the difference and do 2,000 feet. Duplicate PD. Obviously, we know there's an airplane out there somewhere. We were tracking him by his jamming signal. All right, here comes the KH-22s. Our laser crew is already. Oh no, you cheated. No problem. All right. Getting awfully close. Lasers firing. Ah, they were still able to acquire them efficiently. Bummer! So that did not work because my jamming signal was so far below where the missiles themselves were. The only way I could get away with this is maybe trying with a harpoon. But at the end of the day, unless you can jam whatever sensor is guiding that weapon, you're never going to be able to prevent it from engaging, even in this kind of a situation. Now, if we try to set it up in an even more extreme, let's go ahead and try that out real quickly. We could also set it up in such a way that not only is it night, but it also happens to be really bad weather. So let's go ahead and set the weather to obnoxious real quickly. Let's make the wind kind of bad. Let's set the sky to really foggy. And now let's see if we can get that pesky laser. Again, this is just experimenting at this point, but it's worth trying. Let's grab our laser. Let's put him right there. Let's go ahead and take our Hawkeye. Let's shut him off. And let's go switch back to our pesky AN-225 here. I'm going to go ahead and aim this direction. We'll go ahead and reattach the radar that we used earlier. We'll use a wet eye, like I said. Wet eye. That's fine. Turn that radar on. Turn the jammer on. And we're almost there. Come on. Keep in mind, because this weather is so bad, it becomes very difficult to actually spot targets. So in this case, what I'm actually going to do is order my aircraft to fly at a lower altitude than I normally would so that it can see the side of the ship better. There we go. Eat KH-22. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my little orbit here. Keep in mind, this ship can't see pretty much to here. So let's find out what happens. Oh, we caught it. As soon as we caught it, of course, he turns on his radars. Ah, it was the APY that caught it. Let's go ahead and delete the Hawkeye completely. Interrupt these contacts. All right, let's try that again. We got something. What's this? Ah, the active radar seeker. So now, unfortunately, this ship is kind of on its own. It's got its surface scanning radar, but without that better air-to-air radar, and because it's bad weather and we can't get a good visual fix on it, it's going to become a little more difficult to engage these weapons. Let's see what happens this time. Laser away. Uh-oh, the laser can't see through the fog. Oh no, what's going to happen? Boom. All right, hopefully you found this video sort of interesting. Like I said, this is just a response to something somebody was asking. I had to do some research on my own to kind of play with it. At the end of the day, it's all about oversaturation from multiple directions is how you can defeat it. If you want to optimize it, it's all about putting your systems that have the best anti-aircraft or anti-ship missile systems in the way of the incoming attack. That's simply going to be the best way to do it. Other than that, enjoy.